if you're a Final Fantasy fan, 2026 is going to be a really interesting year. Not because we're getting one massive, like, oh my God, Final Fantasy is back mainline release or mainline entry, but because, look, 2026 is kind of shaping up to be the year where Square Enix is really moving a lot of these pieces into position. And obviously the biggest piece on the board, yeah, it's Final Fantasy VII again. But let's start with what's actually been confirmed. 7 Remake Intergrade is going to be officially releasing on the Switch 2 and the Xbox Series X and S on January 22nd, which is like 9 days from when I'm recording this. Intergrade basically is this enhanced version of Final Fantasy VII Remake, which includes the Yuffie DLC intermission. So it's not like the bare bones version of the game. My honest feelings about this is I don't really care. I am excited for Switch fans and Xbox fans who really didn't get to play it yet. Like, truly, if you've never had like access to the games and you're a Final Fantasy fan, and I'm somebody who plays on Xbox mostly, but I also have a PlayStation, I think you should definitely pick it up. But at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and act like, you know, this is the biggest deal in the world. Most people who are Final Fantasy fans have found a way to play this game, or, you know, they watched a lot of people play. It's been, you know, like part of gaming for, I don't know, like 5 years, 6 years now, something like that. But I do have one question, and it's an important one, is how well this game is going to run on the Nintendo Switch 2, because the 7 Remake is really gorgeous and it's really big and it's a pretty heavy game. It's pretty hefty. So yeah, I'm optimistic, but I'm also watching the Switch 2 version very carefully. But all that said, the bigger point here is that this isn't just a port. This is Square Enix saying that Final Fantasy VII is going to be everywhere now. And I think that's a pretty big deal because they've had it confined to just the PlayStation for a while now. And I think that was such a stupid move. And having it everywhere with more people is only going to expand the Final Fantasy brand. Even if, as we know, it's probably not going to sell all that great on the Xbox or maybe all that great on the Switch, it's still better than nothing. This brings us to the big thing. And here's what I feel like 2026 is really going to feel like. This is going to be the year that Final Fantasy VII is everywhere. And yes, the Remake Intergrade, like I said, isn't just a nice bonus. It's Square widening the funnel, and they've already confirmed a lot of bigger plans too, like the entire 7 Remake trilogy is planned to be multi-platform now. Great decision, like I said, which means Rebirth isn't just trapped forever. And part 3 is obviously the end game here. Now let's talk about part 3, because this is where my emotions get a little complicated. Am I excited? Yes, of course I'm excited. Am I nervous? Yes, very. Because for me, and this is just me, the big question is, like, how far are they going to stray from the original game? And obviously the indications are it's going to be a lot, probably. And as someone who is a little bit of a Final Fantasy purist, yeah, it does. The whole remake thing does bug me a little bit, but just a tiny little bit. I'm fairly open-minded, but you know, it's kind of like in Interstellar when Matthew McConaughey went to Murph's school and he was talking about like the moon landings, and they're like, yeah, well, we replaced it with the corrected version. That's kind of how I feel about the whole 7 Remake trilogy thing. And it's not because like I hate change. I don't hate change, but because 7 isn't just like a story. It's not just another story. It's basically a gaming landmark. So yeah, I'm always watching pretty carefully about what's going on with Final Fantasy VII when they start rewriting the DNA of what made it great in the first place. But overall, I think more Final Fantasy VII in more places is a good thing. And 7 is really the only Final Fantasy game that can truly pull in like new newbies into the Final Fantasy series as a whole. Cloud has that kind of brand recognition. Final Fantasy VII has that brand recognition. And No matter what you feel about the other games, even like 9 or 10, no other character or cast of characters has the pool that Final Fantasy VII does. So now let's talk about 14. Because this game obviously is just its own empire. It does have like a pretty dwindling player base, if I remember right. And in 2026, 14 is obviously going to keep rolling with the patches and the raids and the story updates and the usual kind of live service grind that we know from an MMO. But everyone really wants to know what is the next big shift, the new expansion era and the next huge direction change. Now, personally, I played 14 pretty casually. And what I mean by that is I still put thousands upon thousands of hours into it. So I'm pretty familiar with the game, but I didn't like do the hardest of the hard ultimate like raids and stuff like that. It was just too hard for me. And my brain does not work that way. It's not wired that way. I also didn't really play. I didn't finish Dawntrail. I think if I had to guess, I was about halfway through. So I'm kind of in this spot where I'm not like in the trenches of 14 anymore, but I'm still watching it very closely because I'm kind of waiting for the right time to kind of dive back in and catch up, because I'm genuinely curious about what direction they're going to take this game, especially with Yoshi P teasing that there's like some kind of fresh start for the game. And I'm just like, what does that even mean? But 2026 should give us a little bit of a clearer picture of the next era of 14. And I'm really excited. Am I going to know about like all the different minutia and min-maxing of jobs and like what each little stat increase or decrease or is going to be? No, that stuff usually just flies over my head. I played, 14 for the story and like made some friends on there and the casual stuff. Okay, so now let's get to the part of 2026 that I'm most excited about, because 2026 feels like the year Square starts teasing kind of their next wave of projects. And there's one name that's been floating around, and that's Kazutoyo Mahiro. And like quick context, Mahiro is a Square Enix creator, and he's best known for working on Final Fantasy Tactics and also being a pretty key figure in 16. And basically anything that he's attached to, anything he touches, immediately is going to have my attention. Because first off, Tactics has arguably the best story in the series, and honestly, it's just one of the best stories in gaming, period. And that's not even nostalgia. It's just that good. So him being attached to anything, whether it's a new game, a new remake, a new experience, which is what it was teased as, whatever it might be, I'm going to be really hyped for that. Also worth mentioning, Square has been doing these surveys, and I'll kind of put it up right here, asking fans what they want from the future direction of Final Fantasy. And I'm telling you guys right now, when companies start doing stuff like that, it's usually because something big is being decided behind the scenes, obviously. Now, is that going to end up with any real meaningful changes? I don't know. If it brings in more money, then yes. If it's going to lead to less money, probably not. So we're just going to have to wait and see. I'm not like super hyped about the direction of Final Fantasy like right now. So hopefully these surveys actually hold a little bit of weight. Let's wrap this up. Here's what to watch for. 7 is still going to be spreading its dirty, greasy tendrils into every console and every corner of the market. There's some big announcement moments. There's a certain time windows where Square loves to use, like their showcases and anniversaries and major events. And May 27th is going to be one of those dates that people are going to be side-eyeing, especially me. It's not guaranteed, but it's the kind of day Square might use as a stage to announce something big. I'm praying for a tease, just a little drop of water in the desert of Final Fantasy 17. 14's next era is beginning to kind of take shape, even without a full expansion release. If you're a fan or if you're a sub of 14, you should expect some movement there. Now quickly, very quickly, 2027 and beyond is where things could really kind of get insane, because realistically, this is where you could see 7 Part 3, likely landing in 2027 if I had to guess. The 14 8.0 expansion window is going to be in 2027 if the timing of it, if I'm remembering it correctly, should land in 2027. And then the real mystery, Final Fantasy 17. And here's where I stand. I'm not expecting huge things. I'm not expecting Square to just blow the doors off. But I am praying at some point this year, we do get a tease of Final Fantasy 17, not gameplay. I don't expect gameplay. I don't expect a trailer, but a logo or a vibe or a statement or a whisper. Just tell us something that, yes, 17 is in the pipeline. I'd be pretty smitten with that. So yeah, look, 2026, I'll be real with you guys. It's probably not going to be the biggest, most grand year in Final Fantasy history, but it could be one of the most important years in Final Fantasy because it is setting up this next era of gaming for the series. Let me know in the comments, what do you guys want the most? Do you want the 7 Part 3? Do you want the 14 expansion? Do you want a real tease of Final Fantasy 17? Leave it all in the comments. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Take care and God bless.